Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I want to cover a couple of things in this video that really matter to me. The purpose of my content is to help you, the average person, understand that you can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less and make work completely optional, even if you're not starting from the best position. One of the reasons why I really want to get this information out is because of a mistake a lot of us make. Most of us grow up thinking, I need to find a pension. I need perpetual income that I don't have to work for, that comes from working for a company or a municipality for a long enough period of time for that pension to kick in. And there's a couple problems with this. One, you can find yourself in my situation where after Desert Storm, the Marine Corps downsized. So after 6 years, I'm out. And then in 2008, the recession hits and I get laid off from a police department. So after 8 years in law enforcement, I'm out. So 2 times I tried for a pension, both times didn't work. The other thing to think about, especially if you're watching this content, is we want to talk about retiring before retirement age. And a lot of people think, I'm going to do something like go into the military, work 20 years and then get a retirement, or work for a city, work 10 or 20 years and get a retirement. And most people don't look into the actual details of how retirement pensions work. It takes, my son was recently applying to work for a city, and he was looking at the pension as one of his options for the future. But the retirement age for the city is that your age and the number of years you work for that city must total 80 for you to retire. So that's the first thing. How are you going to retire early if there's an age requirement? The other thing that people do outside of pensions is we look at things like retirement accounts, which penalize you for touching the money before 59 and a half. So retirement accounts for me, kind of out for the retire early community. But pensions also have these other problems, like cities or companies filing bankruptcy. And large companies, there's a list of companies that have filed bankruptcy and then not had to pay a penny out on pensions. There were laws created in the 1970s that said pensions had to be funded up to 80% in order to be called a pension. But they forget things like they were estimating a guaranteed rate of return on their investments. And they were estimating a mortality rate to make that 80% number work. So if not enough people are dying and the stock market does what it's doing, those pensions might not be there. So what I have today is my 2 friends who actually have encouraged me and I've learned from and made me able to create my own pension and stop working, no longer have a W-2 and not worry about it. But I want to ask my friends, Matt the Lumberjack Landlord and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time, how did you, because you're both financially independent, how did you create your own pensions? Matt, what were the steps you took to do it, and how do you think it's affected your life?
So I was always a little bit of a gambler. And so being an entrepreneur, I ran from the pension jobs. Wasn't my thing. I was like, I feel like you get scheduled raises. I don't like anything inside the box like that. It's too confining. And I want to be rewarded for what I believe is exceptionalism. And so for me, it was, what's the most dangerous career industry to get into? Software sales. They figure that, dog years are like software sales years. 1 year is like 7. And so I got into an industry that is an absolute boiler room. Most companies are like, hey, bottom 10% gone at the end of the year. If you were the top rep the year before, and you're now the bottom rep the next year, you have 2 quarters to figure it out or you're gone. It doesn't matter how awesome you were and how dominant you were the previous years. So for me, there was always something to that. The thing is as I get into it, I said, great, I'm making good money. A, what do I do with this money? B, I lost some money in the stock market. It didn't feel very good. And I felt like I had no control. So what I started doing was looking in ways that I can invest in myself, something that was a little slower moving, something that was a little, I guess, more guaranteed, and it would give you a lesser return. However, it would be a lesser return that would increase over time. And obviously what we're talking about is buy and hold real estate. So that's the direction that I decided to go in, because I felt like the stacks weren't chipped against us. The chips weren't stacked against me, easy for me to say. And that it wasn't really a matter of me against the market. It was really me against myself, just finding what deal would give me a good enough return on my time and the money that I would put into it that would increase over time, because there's nothing better than 30-year fixed rate debt when you own an asset that somebody else is paying off. And on top of that, you make a profit on a monthly basis. So buy and hold real estate was the thing for me that took a lot of my career earnings that I diverted into those assets and that plan, because I watched too many people, too many really great software guys blow out and end up then bouncing around 3 to 5 companies in the next 2 to 4 years. And that means that they didn't make any money in 2 to 4 years, because you don't make money when you bounce. You only make money when you bounce and stick for 3 to 5. Mm-hmm. So that's how I did it.
What I love, and I might not say this in the video, I might edit this out,
but not today,
is you said you wanted to find the most dangerous career opportunity.
Yes.
And as somebody who joined the military, worked in law enforcement, the last words I expected to come out were software sales. But I get it. You were relating it to the career. Past performance is no guarantee of future outcome, especially in software sales. And that makes sense, because there's a lot of people right now working in a field where you could be out next month.
Yes.
And that actually does happen sometimes in the military. Somebody gets to 17 years and you're not allowed to re-enlist. And you're out.
Sadly, the military was not an option for me because I have Alabama floor suckers for feet. So that was not an option for me.
Well, it was the best option for me because my family runs residential tree services. So I joined the Marines because it was so much easier. But Mike, so you also worked in software sales, and I am a little bit familiar with your story. I know that you, unlike Matt, you're more like me. We're not entrepreneurs. We are investors. How did you create your own pension?
Yeah. So I actually want to go back in the journey and remind folks that really watch my content. I don't talk about this a lot, but I was married at 19 years old. 19. So when you're married at 19 years old, you're still in college, and you're also working a full-time job. I gravitated to a commission-based job. And kind of like Matt, I ran away from the you'll get paid how long you're here idea, which is in my family tree, right? My family tree is full of folks who worked in the unions, loved it. And the longer you stayed there, the more you made. As a 19-year-old man who was working with, people who were 30, 40, and 50 years old, who in my opinion were not working as hard, I couldn't stand the fact that they might be paid more simply because they were older. That drove me crazy, insane. Now, again, admittedly, some of that's ego, but I'm just telling you who I was at 19. So that's what I did. I chased careers that would reward me. I called it eat what you kill. That's what I called it. And I prospered and I seeked it out. And I was willing to do whatever it took. Work, while I'm in school still, working a full-time job, being paid no base, all commission. You would clock in. I would stay extra, right? Clock out so I don't burn the ratios and work more. I would just do whatever it took. So for me, kind of like Matt, I don't like the idea of sitting back and chill and just wait till you age out or age in or whatever you want to call it. That is not how I rolled. Like him, I was able to save a little bit, throw money in the stock market, quickly made a bunch, lost it all, realized that I didn't know that game. So it wasn't it for me. And then it comes to real estate. So now I'm 30 years old, I have a daughter helping raise Teresa. And for me, it's funny you say pension, because that's exactly how I bought my first house, Norris Drive, that I talk about all the time. For me, it was simply about getting to 4 and making retirement better. So it is a pension. I had no visions of financial freedom. I had no visions of, cash flow paying mortgage. I had no vision. I just knew that if I could buy 4, retirement would be better, which is what people consider a pension. That's how my journey began. It didn't grow with 10 or 20 or whatever numbers. It didn't go with retiring at 45. I need to have a better retirement than my parents and grandparents ever had. And for me, I locked on the 4 rental homes. They didn't have to cash flow a lot. They had to. It had to be a great deal, all the stuff we talk about. But when you told us the topic was pension, I'm like, that's exactly why I started at 30 years old buying Norris Drive. It was going to be one of the 4 pieces of my pension, my retirement. So obviously, as you get into it, you learn, you recycle capital, it becomes more and more. But that's an option. I've always thought 4 rentals change your life, and 4 rentals is enough. So yeah, I thought this was a wonderful topic because that's what it is for me. You get to 4 And if that's all you ever do, I want to shake your hand, congratulate you. Your retirement's going to be better than most. So that's what I thought.
Well, what I really like is reaching financial freedom. All three of us have reached financial freedom. Matt is still working, and every day I am sending him this image, but today I don't have to because it's here to help you and to encourage you to retire, Matt. But yes. I agree with you, Mike. My story was pretty much the same. I didn't start with the idea of creating a pension. I didn't think that it was going to be total financial freedom. That wasn't even the thought in the first couple of years. The first couple of years was I was tired of my sources of income being taken away due to things outside of my control. And I thought if I had rentals, I would have some control. And I know most of us that talk in this space don't like to say how easy this is because there are challenges. I'm stunned. Like, I would say speechless, but I'm talking about how easy it is. Because for the first few years, all I did was bought a place every 2 years. It wasn't like I was doing 50 deals a year or doing flips or wholesales or burrs or rehabs or wholesaling or anything. I was just, I'm going to save up a down payment, buy a duplex to live in it. I'll save up another down payment and buy another duplex. Wow, the cash flow from these 3 properties is starting to add up. I need to buy another one because it's just, and then self-managing. Matt and I are doing a self-managing deep dive on your channel, Mike, one rental at a time, where we're going to talk about house hacking and self-managing. It's not hard. A lot of people don't like it because they have to learn something new. And we sit in that job and we think I'm going to show up 40 plus hours a week for 40 plus years to retire on less than 40% of what I was making if it doesn't go into bankruptcy, and only at a certain age. Working for someone else's pension for me now seems insane. When you can, the average person can create their own pension in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. I want to thank you both for sharing that. Matt, if they have any questions and want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, also on YouTube, as well as a live stream, 11:30 a.m. on Sundays, Eastern time.
Awesome. And Mike, if they have questions?
One rental at a time, YouTube channel, books, course, website, and my live stream is 8 a.m. Saturdays, Pacific.
Awesome. And thank you both for meeting on an off day for us to record this so I can go again and be lost in the USA. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.